Hello, this is Lino Tadros again, and in this video, this is part 3 of the custom modules. And in this one, we'll go a little bit further into development to be able to change the views based on the list settings or the single item settings for any widget that has to do with the custom module we created. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see in here, in my widget that came with the module automatically called employees, when I dragged it right there from human resources, I automatically get the list settings. If you have only one record, it will show you the single item settings. But if you have more, and I went ahead and created a couple just so that you can actually see a list. And unfortunately, in the list out of the box, it will only have the title, which is the identifier for that specific type. And then it will have the date and leave a comment. But we can't see the first name, last name, photo, or choice, or anything like that. That will probably show up when we click on the VP or the CEO to be able to see the full content. Notice, for instance, if I say publish in here, and I'll go backward once to view, if I click on VP or CEO, then I will be able to see the extra content. So let me go back just to show you how that works as well. And I'm going to click on view, and this is how the front end will look for everybody else in the world. I'm going to click on VP, for instance, right there. Notice now it will actually see it in the single item view, which is the VP title. The first name is Dr. Evil, last name is Powers, the selection of the choice, and the image itself will show up in here as well. Great. So the question now is like, how can I actually change the view for the list? I would like to show the first name and last name in here, right underneath the VP, for instance, or the CEO. As well. And usually you are used to do that in the resource packages or in the MVC folder in files. You create them as a CS HTML files and you get the Razor syntax to compile them for you. But you will notice there are no files under resource packages and there are no files under MVC that has to do with our employee type at all. So where did this view come from? Well, in reality, if you click on edit in here and go to the list settings, you will notice that the list of the template only has one in, and it's called employee. You will look for it everywhere on the hard drive where the website is installed and you will not find it. That's because the automatic location for views or templates for these widgets is automatically put in the database. Of course, you can override it and create the same exact name of that template in the resource package folder, and that will take first priority. Or you can put it in the MVC folder and it will take second priority. The third priority is this guy. The third priority is the database, but it's working because there is no resource package and there is no MVC, and that's why it's working. So let's go ahead and save this and let's see where we can find that resource in the database itself. So I'm going to go all the way to the top where it says design, and the second item is widget templates. And you will notice that the database have two different widgets in it. One is called list.employee and one is called detail.employee. All right, let's go ahead and open up the list employee one. You will see all the code that you are used to probably seeing in the resource packages CS HTML file or the MVC views folder as well. And unfortunately, we only have the title, the publication date, and the comment count, but that's really about it. I would have loved for us to be able to add something from the database. And you can cheat a little bit. You can see that the current one is using something called @item.field. And then the name of the field in the database itself. I can do the same thing. So I can go, for instance, in here, and I can create my own div. Let's go ahead and open and close the div before I forget. Let me fix that before I forget. There you go. And in here, we'll close the div. And then inside of there, maybe I can put a label. Let's say, for instance, first name. And then I would like to get from the database the first name for that specific record. Remember, we are inside of the for each. It means the model of items in here. In my case, I have a VP and a CEO. That means I have two records. So this for each will run twice. For the first time, go to the database and steal here the @item.fields. We'll say @item.fields like this, dot, and then instead of title, we know ours is called first name. Spell it correctly, alrighty? I can also cheat, take that line, copy this, and have it one more time, for instance, like this. And instead of first name, we'll make this last name. And I'm gonna change this as well to last name, okay? If you put the N, for instance, like a lowercase n, it will not work. It has to be identical to how you name the field in the database itself. Okay, and again, this is the list.employee. That's the original one. We'll say save the changes. If I go back to pages, you will notice that the home page will have now more values in the list view itself. So let's wait for this to load. and I'm expecting the VP and then first name Dr. Evil, last name Powers, and so on and so forth for every single record as well. You can add any field you want from the database, and if you'd like to cheat a little bit to find out how they're getting into images, for instance, and so on, that will be in a single item, so you can actually get some of that information from the detailed one as well. So let me go ahead and open this up. We'll say design widget template, and this time we'll open up the detailed one, which is the single item for that. And you will notice in here a little bit there will be some tips and tricks to show you how the image is coming. You see, the image, you'll put in an IMG source and say model.item.fields. The name of the field in the database is called photo. I called it photo. And then you'll have to say .fields again, and then the property is called media URL. And that's the URL I need to pass to the source of the image, and then it will work right away. Isn't that cool? So if I can cheat and take this guy from here, let's do this, Control C, and let's go ahead and add it, for instance, to our list.employee. So I'm going to go to the list.employee in here, and maybe after the last name, I will come in here and put an image. Let's go ahead and put an IMG. We'll say IMG, and we'll say source equal. And in the source equal in here, I will go ahead and put a colon around the whole thing, and we'll close the image. So if I've done my job right in here, that means the source of the image will get it from the fields.photo.fields.media URL. Oops, and I only have one of those. That's good. And let's go ahead and save the changes to this guy, and let's see if this will work. We'll say pages, and I'm going to go ahead and open it up in design time. And if I've done my job right, I should be able to see the image as well associated with each one of them as well. Oh, there is an error. It's good. That's good that we got an error. We did something wrong. Let's go back and see what exactly happened in there that caused this exception. All right, I'm going to go backwards here really quickly and see what we did wrong. I think I know what happened in here in the widget template. When I went and copied from the detail one, remember this one? I went down, and the for each that was happening, there is no for each, is actually happening on the model itself. There is no for each. We are concentrating on one of them. So the model actually says add model.item, and that's not actually the issue here for our field. We started from item.field. So let's go ahead and fix it. It's a small issue. So if I go back in here, it's not at add model. Remember, we are on a for each. So I'm going to take the word model out of there, and the item will be lowercase I, and this will be the correct way. Same thing we did with the first name and last name. It will say at item.fields.photo.fields.media URL. Okay? We'll say save the changes, and let's see if this one fixes the problem. And I will go back to the home page, and if we see the image, we'll be in a much better shape as well. And there we go. And of course, you can go into the template and set the width and height to maybe 200 by 200, so you don't have different sizes. And you can also create an HTML table or divs and CSS classes to display this however you want. But remember, you have access to all the fields in the database, whether they are complex types like images and videos and docs and so on, or even related data for pages and news and blogs. You definitely can get to them from the CSS/HTML as well. Hopefully this was useful to you, and we'll see you again soon in another video in Lino TV. Thank you.